Hi everybody, this is Brad Phillips from BradPhillipsCGI.com. Today I've got a video tutorial for you in Autodesk Softimage 2011. We are going to be going over matte shadow objects. Matte shadow objects will receive shadows and reflections and even ambient occlusion, and meanwhile they can also help to block out or become transparent parts of an object. This is important when it comes with 3D integrating into real footage. That way you can have a character standing there and get their shadows, but without the ground grid that you made inside your 3D program. So, without further ado, let's get started. The first thing that we need to do is make a couple of objects. So the first object I'm going to make is a grid. And we can turn the subdivisions down. And let's just crank up the grid size just so that we can get it nice and big so we can see what we're working with. Okay, the next object I'm going to make is just a cube. And its placement is good and everything. So I'm going to hit G to turn off my grid. And I'm going to maximize the viewport. And we can even twist to a shaded view and maybe turn wireframe on. Okay, so what we can do is, if we show wireframe, you can see that the box is actually going through the floor, and that there's a whole lot more box than what we see when we're in shaded mode. That is what we want for this particular example. When we apply our matte shadow object to the grid, it's going to hide the rest of the box and only leave the top, which is what we want in this example. If it were a character, I might move the box up and set it so it's just above the floor like that, and that way none of the boxes is hidden and we're still catching the shadows and reflections and everything. But for now we'll just leave it about halfway. So the first thing we need to do is, with the box selected, we are going to make a new material. We'll just make it a Fong, and we will turn down the ambient, perhaps give it some color just to make it look cooler, and then we will go turn down the specularity. Okay, so I'm going to hit spacebar to let go of that, select my grid, and I need to make a new material. So we'll make that a Fong. And none of this really matters. So when we open up our material, our material editor, and we come over here, this is the material applied to the box. This one will be our matte shadow, so we're going to rename it matte shadow. Oops. Okay, so we renamed it matte shadow, hit enter. This Fong we won't really actually need. We do need to add a replacement, and it's under Illumination tab, all the way down at the bottom, Matte Shadow. So we pull our matte shadow out here, and we apply the result to the surface, the shadow, and the photon. Okay, and we can delete this Fong. Okay, so now we'll want to bring up our matte shadow MIP options here, and we can get rid of that. With our matte shadow options, there's a few things that we want to change. It has the ability to run ambient occlusion. We're just going to uncheck that for right now. It does have the ability to catch reflections, and we can turn that on so that you can see what that's like. And it has the ability to catch shadows. I prefer to turn down the ambient here, and it's going to make your shadows darker. You can also turn off no self-shadowing. Basically that is for if I had another box sitting in front of this one, and I wanted it to block out a view of the box but not also cast shadows onto our grid, I would select this and leave it checked. If I had a box here that I wanted to be hidden and therefore block out the box behind it, but still get the shadows from the box, perhaps there's a box in my real footage that I'm trying to replace, then I would uncheck no self-shadowing, and therefore you still would not see this box, but you would see its shadow over here. Okay, so this all looks good. We can just minimize that for now. We do need to do one more thing. We need to add a we need to add a light, and I'm just going to add a light box. I'm going to turn down the umbra and make sure my shadows are enabled, and we can close that. And then this light we need to move away so that it can actually see the object. Okay, and one more thing, just in order to be able to see what we're doing, this isn't necessary for rendering out purposes, but just so that we can see what we're doing in our viewport, this is necessary. So I opened up my render manager and I clicked on past shaders, and I'm going to add an output shader, and I go to insert and I go to more, and I'm going to insert a 2D background color, and that looks good. Just something so that we don't have a black background. Something a little brighter so that we can see the shadows. Okay, and everything looks good there. We'll go to our region tool, all options, and we'll just make them the current pass options. Okay, and then we will turn on our region tool and we will test it. And as you see, we're getting the shadows and we're getting the reflections, but we're not getting any grid, which is exactly what we want. Also note that you're not seeing the rest of the box. There's actually a lot more box being hidden by this grid, which is very handy for hiding something. I hope you all found this tutorial informative, and I encourage you to go try it for yourself. Again, this has been Brad Phillips from BradPhillipsCGI.com, and make sure to come back and check out new tutorials. So, thanks for watching.